Yeah, this game's got a lot of good that can come from it. It means more than just one game. You got to treat it as one game, and at the end of the day, it will just be one game. But understanding these guys are undefeated, as you said, in the conference. Fight for a 1 seed, always, you know what I'm saying, trying to get every game that you can. You don't go into any game you're thinking that we don't need this one or this one isn't as big as that one. But from a team that's been consistent in the past few years, knocked us out of the playoffs in the last 2 years, there's a lot that we can gain from this win that makes it definitely more than just one game.
Big game on Sunday night, the Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers have indeed eliminated the Cowboys 2 consecutive years from the postseason. Each game featured a curious final attempt by the Cowboys to try to either tie the game or win the game. This time around, the regular season matchup goes a long way toward potentially determining, Peter, who will host a rematch if there is one. That's why it's so important. The 1 seed, to a certain extent, is in the balance. Even though we still have plenty of season to go, that outcome, when it's time to look at the final standings, who won that game back in Week 5 between the Cowboys and the 49ers, it may be the difference between winning the division and not winning the division. And if both teams win their divisions and if they have the same record, whoever wins that game will host if and when their paths cross in the, not wild card round, but it would be divisional round or conference championship round.
You know, Mike, I think there's a little bit of a subplot in this game, and that subplot is this game's really important for Dak Prescott, and it's important as well for Mike McCarthy. You know, one of the reasons, without any question, that Mike McCarthy took the play calling, play designing, game planning duties away from Kellen Moore in the offseason, much to the owner's delight, honestly, is a 48-second drive at the end of the 19-12 divisional round victory for the 49ers over the Cowboys last year. And for people who don't quite remember it, the Cowboys got the ball with about 2:50 to go, 2:55 to go in the game. They're down a touchdown, and this is the big drive. And they go 3 and out, incomplete, sack, incomplete, and it's just a very, very ugly, dispiriting drive. And the Cowboys lose the game. And the next day, I'll never forget looking at Jerry Jones after that game and seeing him, and he looked like his dog just died. And I said, those are 48 seconds that Jerry Jones will never get back. And then you look at the game the previous year. How did it end? When Dak Prescott ran too far on a scramble, and they didn't have enough time left to get a play in after that scramble. And so, look, you can blame whatever you want on Dak Prescott. You can blame whatever you want on Mike McCarthy. You can credit the San Francisco defense all you want. But the fact is that, you know, at some point, words are simply not enough. Actions are required. And right now, the Dallas Cowboys need to show that, as Pedro Martinez once said about the New York Yankees, they're our daddy. And right now, the 49ers are the Cowboys' daddy. And can they do anything about it? Can the Dallas Cowboys do anything about it at Levi's Stadium on Sunday? I believe that this is probably one of the biggest games of Dak Prescott's career. And it's not the ultimate, okay? It's only week 5 of the NFL season, and the biggest games are to be played in January and February. I get it. But can you imagine how the Cowboys will feel if they get on the bus after the game to go to the San Jose airport, and after losing again and not scoring 20 points again, if indeed that's the way it goes against the San Francisco 49ers, I mean, they are going to feel like we can't beat this team. No matter what they say after the game, deep down, the 49ers will certainly have had their number doing it 3 years in a row.
Yeah, the Cowboys need to believe ultimately that they can win this game in January if and when it happens again in January and losing yet again to the 49ers in a big spot, prime time, playoff feel. That's not going to give them the confidence they need to believe that they could pull this off when the season is riding on the outcome of the game. One of the wrinkles that has come up, especially as it relates to the Cowboys in recent weeks, the value of having someone on the team that used to be on the other team, the anti-Dick Butkus dynamic, where you have guys who leave one team for another team, and how much information can you glean from that person? One of the comments this week from Cowboys offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer talking to Trey Lance about what the 49ers do defensively. I assume Dan Quinn will talk to Trey Lance about what they do offensively. Here's Kyle Shanahan from earlier in the week on how much any information that Trey Lance carried with him to Dallas could actually help the Cowboys.
As much as most coaches can. I mean, you can see the plays on tape. You can explain what we look at and stuff like that, which usually you can when you can stack up a lot of tape over years, and we've been here for a while and previous. So hopefully he's talking to them all the time and making them focus totally on that instead of the simple stuff of watching the tape.
Yeah, I mean, it's all on the tape. Everything that the 49ers have done offensively and defensively against the Cowboys the past 2 years is on film. The challenge is, and this is where the chess match becomes important, figuring out, predicting, estimating what the 49ers are going to do this time around. And Trey Lance isn't going to help in that regard. Trey Lance isn't there. He doesn't know what they're thinking. He doesn't know what they're doing. He doesn't know how they're going to try to go above and beyond whatever they've already done to try to fool the Cowboys. And at the end of the day, Peter, I don't know how much any of that matters. It comes down to execution. It comes down to who can block who. If you have an idea what the play is going to be, you still have to stop it. What if you just can't stop it? You know it's coming, but you can't stop it because your tacklers are getting knocked on their butts as they're trying to get to the ball carrier. Or when they do get to the ball carrier, he won't go down. So there's a lot more to it than having an idea of what the 49ers might or might not do.
You know, I think the other part of this is, Mike, that I think scouting is great. I honestly think that, you know, it isn't necessarily what he's going to say. Yeah, watch when Nick Bosa does this, or here's what they're trying to do when you see Brock Purdy, hold his hand up or touch the side of his helmet. This is it. Look, the 49ers understand this. Their signals will be changed on Sunday. They're not going to have the same, a lot of teams have, a dummy audible called or something. If players hear a word, you ignore everything after that. If players hear a different word, then what's called after that is the real play. They're not going to have the same words that they had when Brock Purdy was there and Trey Lance was there. So, a lot of it I've always felt. I have, Mike, over the years, I have never once heard after a game like this where a team acquires a player from another team, either picked them up off waivers or did this. I've never once heard somebody say, we won this game because of this, or we scored a touchdown because Trey Lance told us this, or we had a big gain because Trey Lance gave us a clue on this. Look, there's so many people who cover teams so closely now that somebody's going to whisper to somebody along the way, man, I'll tell you what, Trey Lance really helped us. He helped us do X, Y, and Z. You just never hear that. And you know why? Because I don't think it happens. Kyle Shanahan is going to make sure that all the knowledge that Trey Lance has is basically knowledge you can see by watching the film, but it's not going to be knowledge that he's going to gain by, quote, stealing the 49ers signals, end quote.
One of the reasons Trey Lance is no longer in San Francisco is because Brock Purdy, the last guy taken in the 2022 draft, has become the guy that Kyle Shanahan was looking for, the guy who can run his system the way he wants it to be run, a guy who could fairly be called a system quarterback. Just don't call him a system quarterback if you're around Kyle Shanahan. Here's what Shanahan had to say about that label.
I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. You just got to watch the tape. I mean, he plays at a high level every time he's been out there. And he's done it in a lot of different situations versus a lot of different defenses, on the road, at home, in playoff games, when injured. You can't do all that stuff. He's been out there too long. It's on tape.
And look, whether it's game manager, system quarterback, I mean, the bottom line is Kyle Shanahan wants a quarterback who will run his offense the way he wants it to be run, because he believes that the game plans he constructs to go against a given defense between running and passing, if you just do what he tells you to do, it will work, points will be scored, and games will be won. So I don't know that there's anything pejorative about calling him a system quarterback, because Kyle Shanahan's system relies on a quarterback who will run it the way he wants it to be run, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other part of this, Mike, is that I think I'm on a talk show in San Francisco every week on 95.7 The Game, and one of the guys I'm on with has a great word for this, because I've talked about this a lot. I wasn't smart enough to think of the word draftism. Because here's a player who was drafted, whatever it is, last 272nd overall, I think, in 2022. You just are prone to not believe what you're seeing. And yep, there's a trap door somewhere. It's going to open and Brock Purdy's going to fall through it. Well, all I know is this. Brock Purdy in his NFL career has played 12 games in which he has played 3 quarters or more in that game, including playoffs, 12 games. In those 12 games, the 49ers are 12-0. This year, Brock Purdy is essentially playing significantly better than he was last year. He's second in the NFL in yards per attempt. That is a huge measuring stick for quarterbacks. And the fact that he's third in accuracy, that he's completing 72%, tells me that it's not just the dink and dunk throws that he's hitting. It's the throws 10 yards plus downfield that he's hitting. That is how you get a good yards per pass attempt and how you're accurate at the same time. And look, I'm not huge on passer rating, but he is number 1 in the NFL in passer rating. 0 interceptions. I don't know. His team scoring 30 points or more every game this year. I mean, what do you want? Really, what do you want? Goes 20-21, yeah, but. Everything is a yeah, but with Brock Purdy. I think it's totally ridiculous. The Ringer came out with ratings this week of the quarterbacks in the NFL. Excuse me. And they had Brock Purdy ranked 25th. I mean, I don't know what to say anymore with everybody basically putting an asterisk on Brock Purdy. I mean, if I were Brock Purdy, I'd just be stuffing all these things in my back pocket and say, man, this is so sweet. Did you know, by the way, that I started 47 games in a Power 5 conference in college? And one of the reasons why I'm pretty good right now is because I was up against teams that were better than us almost every week at Iowa State. And so don't you think that has some relevance when determining, whether I can play at the next level or not? Just because everybody passed on me 7 times, okay? Just because of that, it doesn't mean I can't play. Watch the games and then say that Brock Purdy can't play. And if you do, you probably ought to be covering, Nerf football.
I just ultimately don't think that calling him a system quarterback in Kyle Shanahan's system is a negative thing. The system requires the throws to be made short, intermediate, and long. He makes them efficiently. He makes the reads he's supposed to make. He makes all the movements he's supposed to make. I remember Rex Grossman explaining this after the lockout in 2011 in Washington. He was confident he was going to win the starting job under Mike and Kyle Shanahan because he knew that the way to win that job is to run the offense exactly the way Kyle Shanahan wants it to be run. Every step, every hitch, every read, every throw, everything. And that's what Purdy's doing. So he's running a very complicated system to perfection. Would he work in another system? We don't know, unless and until he ends up in one. For now, he's exactly what Shanahan needed. He's what Shanahan has been looking for. He's young Kirk Cousins, can run the system the way Shanahan wants it to be run. So I don't see a pejorative in it. I think it's great. It's exactly what the 49ers have been missing. They've been missing a quarterback who can run the system and stay healthy, not freelance, not get overwhelmed by the moment, just go out there and be almost robotic and get it done. Deliver the ball where it's supposed to go. What do I do on this play? That's what I'm supposed to do. Okay, I'll go do it. Next play. What am I supposed to do? That's what I'm supposed to do. I'll go do it exactly the way you taught me to do it. That's what Shanahan's been looking for. That's good system quarterback. That's exactly what the 49ers need. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.